Welcome to the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu channel, where today I want to help you develop a unique BJJ game that works specifically for you. No matter what belt rank you may be, my first piece of advice would be to look internally before you look externally. What I mean by this is that most practitioners look externally at their instructors or professional athletes they revere and seek to emulate them. However, I think that before you look to others, you should first look internally and seek to understand yourself and more specifically your own physical attributes. Why is this so important? Whilst there are fundamental movements that all BJJ practitioners should know, there are some techniques which are better suited to particular body types. For example, practitioners with long arms are going to have more success with head and arm chokes. They will be able to find darces, anacondas and arm triangles from more places than those with shorter arms. And furthermore, they will find it easier to cinch up and finish those submissions. To use another example, longer arms can also make body lock passing more accessible. The same is also true for athletes with longer legs. They will have a higher success rate with triangle submissions and be more effective with spider or lasso guard in the gi. However, Jiu-Jitsu isn't just for tall, lanky athletes. More vertically challenged athletes with shorter limbs like me have different advantages. With shorter legs, we are better able to find paths to open guards like X-guard, single leg X, and butterfly hooks. And if we develop strong defense, we potentially become harder to submit with arm bars and leg locks. This is a rudimentary way of simplifying body types for BJJ. I'm sure there is more nuance when you assess your own attributes more thoroughly. Once you understand your anatomical advantages and shortcomings, you can then build a game which accounts for those attributes. And in doing this, you can accelerate your progress on the mats. In my experience, the best way to build your game is to research successful athletes with similar body types to you. Look up their competition footage or highlights to see the movements and techniques they use to win their matches. Here are a few examples to get you started. If you have a tall and lanky body type, then you might seek to research the flexible lapel-based guards used by Keenan Cornelius. What if you aren't that tall but have disproportionately long arms? In that scenario, I don't think you can go wrong with a deep dive into Cade and Tai Ruotolo's setups for head and arm chokes. For those of you who are more diminutive in stature with shorter limbs might want to study Marcelo Garcia's butterfly and X-guard game, Diego Pato's leg lock attacks, or Fion's power passing system. You can be as broad or as granular as you wish with your approach. At this point, I think that it is important to give a personal example of how understanding my own physical attributes allowed me to make leaps forward in my jiu-jitsu. I started training BJJ in 2006 before social media and YouTube really took off and long before online learning platforms like BJJ Fanatics and Submeta existed. In the late noughties in the UK, it felt like closed guard was widely taught as the main tool for developing a competent bottom game. Roger Gracie was the dominant force in BJJ at the time and had a dangerous world-class closed guard that everyone wanted to emulate. I learned different variations of gi chokes, pendulum sweeps, arm bars and triangle setups from closed guard. However, very rarely was I able to execute any of these techniques in live sparring. With my shorter legs, I found that my training partners easily pried open and passed my closed guard. For many years, these struggles made me believe that I just didn't have any talent for jiu-jitsu. However, in mid-2009, I tore my LCL, which kept me off the mats for the rest of the year. When I returned in 2010, I found that playing closed guard put strain on my bad knee and I had to think of ways to adapt. Consequently, I started exploring half guard. I started with Eddie Bravo's lockdown before adding deep half guard to my repertoire by studying Jeff Glover's and Ryan Hall's instructionals on the topic. To my surprise, I found instant success with half guard. I was able to retain the guard for longer periods and sweep with much greater frequency in sparring. It was a light bulb moment since I realized that it was a position which better suited my body type, and from that point onwards, I sought to find more movements and techniques which served that same purpose. I must stress that it is still important over the longer term to consume as much knowledge as possible for two reasons. Firstly, there may come a time when you wish to teach others, and breadth of knowledge will make you a better instructor. Secondly, having a deep understanding of techniques that aren't part of your A game will at least help you to counter those attacks. I'm a big believer that there is a place for all movements and techniques in jiu-jitsu, even if it doesn't suit your own preferences. I'd love to know your thoughts. What adaptations have you made in your jiu-jitsu game to suit your body type? Please feel free to leave a comment. And if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate the support. And if you're interested to know who I consider to be the BJJ GOAT, watch this video next.